Hi, this is the Goltz and Breutmann Mentor, I believe the Klapp Reflex camera, partly disassembled just to show the shutter mechanism and the blind at the back of the camera. For those that have not taken one of these apart, it's a great camera which folds very flat down to about this level, and I've got the front of the camera open, and you can see in there there's the mirror, which is quite a large mirror that flaps up when the photo is taken, and there is a viewing part of the camera here which opens up and allows you to look down through the glass and see the image. It's a very portable and great camera, and really well built and collapsible, very clever design. The real sort of difficult bit is this shutter. So the shutter has various settings on it which allow you to set the speed of the shutter, and on the back of part of the camera case there is a guide which shows you the relevant shutter speeds depending upon the setting of this number here, 1 to 6, and also this dial here which is a fifth down to 8, and then there's a table that shows you the various shutter speeds. Now if I show you that this dial on the bottom here is adjustable, and you can turn it to select one of those 6 speeds. The actual window will show the number at this position here, so at the moment that's position 6. It's just that I've taken off the cover here, so this little hole shows the window here, which is position number 6. So that's here, and this is the winder and shutter adjuster, so say 1/5 all the way round to Z position. So if I just wind the camera here, hold it at the same time, you'll see that the shutter blind winds up, and here's the window, as you can see on the back, which is this slot here, and I'll keep winding it. It'll stop at the top. At this point the shutter is now cocked and ready for firing. Now normally you would have 2 positions, a Z and an M for manual, I believe, and there is a small lever that goes through this window that screws into here. As I say, I've taken this cover, the camera, and that would pull this lever down here, which would release the blind, and it would also move the mirror out of the way, as in a reflex camera. So if I pull that mechanism down as if I'm firing the shutter, you saw the shutter blind go across depending upon the speed setting here, and also you probably heard the mirror move. So if I set that again, and this time we'll have a look in the actual camera. Obviously the lens would normally be in here, and I can expose again. You can see the mirror goes up and the shutter exposes, and then when the shutter is released it puts the mirror back so you can focus up for the next one. Now this camera is pretty old, I believe around about the 1920's perhaps, this one. The Goltz and Breutmann Mentor cameras lasted a long time, and they produced many of these cameras. I find it really difficult to find any documentation on this whole shutter mechanism, and there are some confusions. So for example, in the Z position, which is this position here, Z as opposed to M, if I wind the shutter and again I pull the shutter, it stops in this position with the blind opened at this spot here, as if to sort of be a timed exposure, and the mirror would normally be sort of back here, and then when you press it again it closes the blind here. I'll do that again, so I have my finger in the way. Let's just do that again. So it's a 2-stage exposure. So we have stage 1, so you've got the timed exposure, and then stage 2. I'm not quite sure what the reasoning behind that is and how that actually works. That's something that I'm trying to find documentation on. This blind looks to be in really good condition. The other thing that is quite difficult with these cameras is the tensioning of this blind. So there is tension on this bottom roller here, and this bottom roller adjusts the speed. So at the moment it's on 6. If I change that, it's 2 clicks for each number on here. So if I change that all the way around to, which is effectively 1, wind the shutter and then expose. Actually, I'll do that again in the normal way. So wind it again. So I've now got this set in the M setting. So the blind should go all the way down and expose. Now that setting is in 1, which should be slightly slower, or I believe something like in the way the camera's set up at the moment, which is basically with this little marker against 7 and this number on 1, it should be about a 1/12 of a second with that slot going across. Now if I go all the way to the other way, which is to basically go so that 6 is in the window, which is here. So we now have 6 in the window. Same settings up here, but 6 should be the fastest speed. So if I cock the shutter again and expose, it does feel slightly faster. I'm not sure whether I have the tension on bottom roller set correctly for the exposures. I've got no way of checking the exposure. The other thing that is confusing is this dial here lifts up slightly. It's sprung loaded. It lifts up as if you can change this setting here between 8 and 1/5, which corresponds to these settings down here. So you've got 1/5 all the way up to 8. Now there is a big difference between 1/5, which is 1/600th of a second, all the way down to 8, which is 1/8 of a second. So I can easily adjust these here by turning this knob, but what I can't do is I can't lift dial at the moment here, which does seem to want to go up, and twist it so that this marker here, there is a slight mark just here which is against the 7, could in theory go up. Then this cog could twist round and I could put it on one of these other settings. So having a look at the mechanism, there is a piece of metal here which has a screw in it which limits the amount you can pull this up, and I cannot adjust that. It's fixed, and I'm not sure you can actually even see that, but it's just here. I'm sure the light's on it very well, but there's a very small gap there, and that gap is not wide enough for this cog to be able to be lifted up and twisted round. So it seems to be stuck on 7 at the moment, and I believe this shutter is slightly loose, but I'm not sure, so I'm not really touching that either. Anyway, that's the mechanism. This is a great camera, really loving the way it's been put together, and folds up really flat. So when you need to put it away, it all folds up, and there's a button which allows you, when you press it, it releases the mirror so it's flat. So you can effectively lift part, which is the viewer, and close the camera completely. And now we have a camera that is only that wide. Obviously there are various bits stripped off this camera. So this is a great portable, large format camera, and very much worth finding one in good condition that you can use. It comes with various backs, including a glass screen that you can open up and view straight through the back of the camera, plus various holders which slide into the holder mechanism here. So it's a great camera. I'm just taking it apart to give it a clean and a slight oil up if it's needed, but I'm still quite confused about the shutter mechanism and how to adjust this part. If anybody knows how this is supposed to work, or this whole shutter mechanism, perhaps they could leave a comment or a link to a PDF file or a website that gives more information on this specific model. This is, I believe, the Mentor Klapp Reflex from Goltz and Breutmann. I think it's 9x12, and it has a Zeiss f 4.5 15cm 150mm lens in fantastic condition, and it's a great camera. So anybody got any comments, then I'd appreciate them sending them in. Anyway, if you want to see some more of these type of camera reviews, I've got quite a few antique cameras that I'm going to be going through and doing a slight restoration on and service. If you want to see more details on these type of old antique cameras that are very usable, please subscribe to my channel. I do quite an eclectic mix of various things, but a lot of it is to do with photography and to do with painting. So please like and subscribe. Thanks very much.